Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to show you how to do a firmware upgrade on your Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II. This is actually a pretty simple thing to do, but some people get a little bit kind of cautious about it. But as long as you follow some relatively easy procedures, then you shouldn't find any problems at all. Now there's some things you're going to definitely need to do this. Obviously, one of which is going to be your camera itself. Now when it comes to the SD card, you can use your existing SD card because the file just needs to go into the root directory. So it doesn't actually affect your pictures or images or anything. But if you want to be on the safe side, you can always grab yourself an extra SD card such as this, just a small one. It doesn't have to be fast or anything because it's not taking pictures or video. It's just transferring a file. So if you've got an old SD card knocking around, then you can certainly use that should you wish to. Just the only thing I would say is make sure you format it actually in the camera before you transfer the file onto it. That way it's got the right file structure and the camera, can actually recognize it. So that is useful. And in fact, let's go ahead and show you how to format the card first of all. Okay, so to format the card, get your memory card, stick it into slot 1 or slot 2, whichever you want to do. Entirely up to you. Once you've done that, press the menu set button, and on the left hand side you want the spanner icon, which you can see there. Then move over once to the right hand side, go down again to the spanner icon, which is at the bottom, and then go across again and it's down on the second page, which is that one there, card format. So click on card slot 2 because that's the one we've got it in. Obviously just make sure you've got it selected the right slot, and it says all of the stuff on there is going to be deleted. Do you want to format the card? Click yes. Shouldn't take very long at all. And there we go, that's formatted. Also, while we're in this page, if you want to find out what firmware version you're actually on with the camera, then if you go back to the menu set button, press that one, that's the middle one. And if you scroll back up, the bottom entry there, firmware version, if you press the menu set again, and then you can see which version you're on. So currently our body firmware for this version is version 2.1, and our lens firmware is on version 1. So actually on this particular model, there isn't an update for the lens at the moment. That is still on the original version, but the camera body definitely has an update to do. So let's go back over onto the computer, and we'll now take our formatted drive out of the camera, and we'll put that into the computer and we'll transfer the file onto it. Now before we actually go back over to the computer, just to run through some of the things you're going to need for the rest of this, you will need a fully charged battery or some kind of constant power, whether that be from a USB power bank or whether that be from an electrical plug-in continuous power device. Choice is entirely up to you, but the battery does need to be fully charged. I've got a battery charging as we speak here. If you're not too sure how charged your batteries are, you can actually unplug the Panasonic charger, take out the battery, stick it into the device, and it'll say how much charge is actually in it. So this one's up to 80%. This battery here, hopefully, we're up to 100%. So this is the battery we're going to use for flashing our firmware once we've downloaded it. So you are going to need a card reader that you can plug into your PC. This works with PC or Macintosh. You can do it on either. The choice is entirely up to you. We're going to get our drive here, stick it into the SD card reader. Most of you know how to do this anyway, but there you go. So plug that into the USB, into the computer, then we can transfer the file onto it. That's what we're going to do next. So here we are, Windows 11 desktop. So I'm going to now plug in our USB drive. And there we go. So you can see it's been formatted. It's got the DCIM folder, the private folder. So we want our update folder, or file rather, to be in this area here, which is known as the root of the directory. So let's close that down. Let's head over into the Panasonic website and we'll get the firmware. So the location you need to go to is panasonic.com/global consumer Lumix S firmware update. This will be in the video description, so you can follow along from there should you wish to, or just do a Google search for Panasonic firmware. It will take you to this page here, so just choose the appropriate camera. So depending on which version you've got, make sure with the S52 you get the right version, because there is actually a S52, S52X, and also there's the S5, and the S52 and the S52X do have different firmwares, so do bear that in mind. This particular version is going to be for the Lumix S5ii, so we're going to click on this one here, and as you can see it says version 2.0, and this will open up to the next page, and we can see actually there it's kind of lying a little bit because we're actually on version 2.2. which was released a couple of days ago, actually 3 days ago, October the 24th. So as you can see, it's highlighted there as being new, adds a few new features, stability, etc. So what we're going to do is click on this, click on the download page, and then you can go to download. It does say here, there is click here to see the procedure. So if you're not too sure and this video was a bit too much for you, you can click on that as well. And there's information there. But this is the file we need, so we're going to click on download. At this point, you're going to be greeted with the Panasonic software license agreement, which you must agree to. Entirely up to you if you read it or not, but you have to accept it. Once you've clicked on accept, you should have a pop-up asking you where you want to save the file to. For simplicity, I'm going to save it to the Windows desktop. And as you can see here, this is a compressed or zipped folder. So we will need to unzip this shortly. So click on save, and you can see it there downloading. There's a previous one for my S5. So just wait for this to download. It does take a little while actually. The Panasonic servers aren't the fastest. Okay, so that is finished now. The blue circle's gone and the zip file is completed. So at which point now we can minimize all these windows. We don't need those anymore, and we can minimize that one. So this is going to leave us with a zip file. So this is our S5 Mark II version 2.2.zip. We're going to right click on it, choose extract all, and we're just going to dump it to the default location, which is going to be the desktop. So click on extract, and it's going to open up and show your file. So you're expecting to see a bin file. If you see anything else other than a bin file, then it's the wrong one. So retrace your steps and you should find it's a bin file. So what we want to do now is to copy this actually onto our flash drive or the SD card. So we're going to right click on it. We're going to choose copy. You can choose cut if you want to. Either one will do the same. We're going to go to our Lumix drive. So we're going to paste this into the root of the drive. And that's copying across. And there we go. So now we have our bin file onto our SD card. So at which point now you can click on the eject button or just take the card out. The choice is yours. As long as it's not writing data, it'll be absolutely fine. So I'm going to click eject. And now we can take the card over to the camera. Okay, so now we're ready to actually flash the firmware. So first of all, I'm going to get our SD card, slot number 2. Don't know why I always use slot 2. And close the door. Then we're going to grab our fully charged battery and make sure the camera is in the off position. Insert the battery. You can close the door if you want to, it doesn't really make much difference. So now we can turn the camera on. And now what we want to do is to navigate to the firmware update. So press the memory set button and you want to be on the spanner icon on the left hand side, and then go over to the spanner icon again at the bottom. You can just see there. And then go to the bottom where it says firmware version. Click on mem set or menu set, which is this middle button. And then it will tell you your firmware version, as we saw a little bit earlier. So we're on version 2.1, but now we've got the option for firmware update, which previously, if you didn't have a BIOS file on there or a firmware file, it wouldn't do anything, but it will now. So if we press on menu set, it's going to read the file, and it says there, firmware update for the body, and we're upgrading to version 2.2. Do you want to start the update? The default selection is no, so we have to move across using the D-pad there to select yes, then press menu set when you're happy. And there we go. That's going to start updating the firmware on the camera. At this point, it goes without saying, don't touch anything, don't do anything, don't go pressing any buttons, and don't turn off the power. If this is connected up to a continuous power device or a USB power bank of some sort, just leave it alone, don't touch anything, because if you manage to somehow disconnect the battery or remove power, this is going to brick the camera, and unfortunately it would need to go back to Panasonic to have that repaired, if indeed they can do. So just leave it, let it do its thing. It'll take a little while, just let it carry on. So we'll let it do its thing and we'll be back shortly. There we go. So when it's finished, the camera will automatically reboot itself. And there, we're back to our default settings. So now if we press the menu set button again and go to firmware version, it now reports we're on version 2.2. So that has been updated. Excellent stuff. At this point now, you can quite happily turn off your camera. can open up the side door. I'm going to remove our SD card, which has the firmware on, and now you can put in your original card back in should you wish to. But that effectively is it. So there you go, it's relatively straightforward. Something I did notice, and some of you may be questioning this yourself, if you're used to flashing your other cameras, S5s, or maybe some of the older G-series Lumix cameras, and you've just upgraded to a nice new shiny S52, the firmware update takes ages. It got about halfway and it stuck there for ages, a really long time, and I was really worried that it wasn't going to flash or there was something wrong with it. So if you're doing it, yes, it's fine. It will eventually, it will jump to the next section and it's all over very quickly. It should take in total somewhere in the region of like 2 to 3 minutes. So yeah, don't panic too much, but it is a much longer process. At least it did seem to be on this particular version of the firmware. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap this video up. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, smash that like button. If you want to see more content like this and more tech related stuff, then do click on the subscribe button and the chime icon and you'll be notified of future video releases. As always, if you've got any comments or questions, you can stick them in the comments section below. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.